Hi students, today we're doing lesson 3.3 on negative exponents. So let's review exponents in general. So if we're going to start with just some examples. So in example 1, we're going to write this problem A, B, B using exponents. So the way we would write that is A to the third power times B to the second power. Okay, everybody should know how to do that one. Remember that. Okay, example 2. So let's go the opposite way. And if I had x to the fourth power times y times z to the fifth power, how would we write that? Go ahead and pause the video and write that out in expanded form is what it's called. Okay, now that you're back, you should write an x 4 times. So x, and then the y, and then the z 5 times. Okay, and that's the expanded form. So this one is exponential form. You need to write this down on your notes so that you remember when it's asking it for you in your homework. And this is expanded form. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the different properties in the exponents that we've done. So let's call this properties of exponents. Properties of exponents. And this is all review of what we did in one of the last chapters. Okay, so the first one we did was if you had x to the a power times x to the b power, the way you work that out is by adding the exponent. So I have x to the a plus b power. Okay, so this is just going to be a quick reminder of all of these different properties. So if I had x to the a power divided by x to the b power, then I would take my exponents and subtract them. Okay, the next one we had was if we had parentheses and had them like this, that meant I was going to multiply them, right? And we also learned that x to the 0 power equals 1, okay? And that is if x is not 0. So we didn't really talk about that before, but pretty much it makes sense that if x is 0, then the answer is going to be 0, not 1. Okay, so these are your properties of your exponent. So maybe just put a box around those so that you can come back to them in case you need to. Okay? Okay, now let's talk about some negative exponents. So we're going to use one of these properties, and I'm going to go ahead and move over to the side of the paper. You can put it underneath, though. I'm just trying to save paper. If I had 5 squared divided by 5 cubed, then how am I going to work that? Well, over here, it's showing me in my properties, if this is division, that I will subtract my exponents. So that means I'm going to do 5, and then my exponent is going to be 2 minus 3. Well, what is 2 minus 3? 2 minus 3 is negative 1, right? So my answer is 5 to the negative 1. That's kind of hard to see. Okay, 5 to the negative 1. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's talk about it by drawing out in expanded form. So 5 squared divided by 5 cubed would look like this. 5 times 5 over 5 times 5 times 5. Right? We did some like this before. And then we would say 5 over 5 is just 1, so those really cross out. These would cross out. And then I have a 5 left at the bottom, and on the top I only have, wait, I should not have done that arrow. On the top I only have 1 times 1. So my answer is 1 over 5. Okay, so that means these two are the same problem. That means that 1 over 5 is the same as 5 to the negative 1. So 5 to the negative 1 is the same as 1 over 5. Okay, so that's just going to prove to you how we do exponents, negative exponents. So what it's telling you is that if you have a problem like, let's do a different one here. If you have a problem like this, 1 over 2 cubed, you can also write that as 2 to the negative third power, or 2 to the negative cubed. So just like here, where I had 1/5, and then that could also be known as 5 to the negative 1, or here we go, 5 to the negative 1, okay? I did the same thing going backwards over here, okay? So it's 1 over 2 cubed, and so I just take away that 1, and it becomes a negative exponent. Okay, so same thing with, and here's a way to prove that. If I had 1 over x to the a power, that would mean 1 is the same as x to the 0 power, right? Over x to the a power. And if I'm dividing, I would subtract. And if I subtract 0 minus a, that gives me a negative a. So you see how this one now became the same as this one with all those equal signs. These are both the same. Okay, so now let's do some examples. We have only 6 examples, and then I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about something you need to look out for, and then I will let you be done with watching this video. Okay, example 3. It wants you to simplify 1 over 2 squared times 1 over 2 cubed. Okay, so you need to simplify this. And so the way to do that is 2 different ways. You can change this to be negative exponents. That makes it a little bit easier to look at. Is 2 squared would be, or 1 over 2 squared would be 2 to the negative 2. And 1 over 2 cubed would be 2 to the negative 3. Okay, well this, when you're doing times, if you look back up here on our properties, here's the times one, okay? That would mean I'm going to add my exponents. So if I'm adding my 2 exponents, my base stays the same. This is the base, right? That stays the same. And then I add negative 2 plus negative 3. You do not have to show this step every time. You can just do it on your own. So my answer would be 2 to the negative 5th. Okay, so that can be your answer, or it might tell you to have your answer as a positive exponent, and that means that I need to flip this around and I need to put 1 over 2 to the 5th. So both of these are correct answers. It's just whether or not it tells you to use a positive exponent or not. Okay? Okay, next one, example 4. This one is division. So we have 1 over 4 squared divided by 1 over 4 cubed. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite those because it's 1 over as negative exponents. So I'm going to have 4 to the negative squared divided by 4 to the negative 3. So all I'm doing is making these that have a 1 on the top, I'm going to change it so that they don't have the 1 on the top. Instead, they're going to have negative exponents. Okay, now that I have division, I need to go look up here at my rules for division. Okay, so here it is. And those say that I'm going to subtract my exponents. So if I'm subtracting my exponents, I'm going to actually do it down here. I'm going to have negative 2 minus a negative 3. Okay, this is why I taught so much at the beginning of the school year about why you needed to know how to use integers, because we're going to be doing them all the time. So when I do this integer, it means I'm going to plus a positive 3, and now my answer is 4 to the 1 power, which we don't write answers like that. Okay, if it's to the 1 power, that just means it's 4. Okay, don't leave a 1 there. Okay, and there's my answer, is 4. Okay, example 5. Let me see if this one is one that I think you could do on your own. Maybe. How about some of y'all try this? 1 over 5. Oops, that's supposed to be cubed. Sorry. 1 over 5 cubed to the 4th power. Okay, so go ahead and solve that one. You can hit pause and solve it. And then come back. Okay, if you came back, you can see that that 1 over 5 cubed is 5 to the negative 3, and then I have to the 4th. Okay, so that's up there on our properties, right? Remember when we have an exponent to an exponent? And what do we do when that happens? Here it is right here. Okay, and that tells me that I am going to times those two exponents. So let's go back down over here. I'm going to times those. So that means I have 5 to the negative 3 times 4, which is 5 to the negative 12. Okay, so that can be your answer, or if it says it needs it as a positive exponent, then you're going to have to flip it around. And when you flip it, make sure that you change that exponent to a positive. Okay, don't leave it negative or it's going to be wrong. Okay, so last one, example 6, and this one I'd like y'all to try on your own. So here's the problem. 1 over 3 to the 0 power, and then to the 0 power, right? Is that what it says? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I can't read my thing very well. Okay, it's 3 to the 9th power. 1 over 3 to the 9th power, and then all of that to the 0 power. Okay, so I have two different exponents here. Okay, so go ahead and pause and do this one on your own. Okay, you came back. Okay, so on all these other ones where we had 1 over, like up here where we had 1 over 5/3, now we have 1 over 3 to the 9th, is we would change it to negative. So we would go over here and I would have gone 3 to the negative 9th and then to the 0 power. But you actually don't need to do that, right? Because anything to the 0 power is going to give you what? That's right. The answer is going to be 1. So I did not have to do any other work. If it's to the 0 power, your answer is 1. And that's it. Okay, so hopefully y'all got that one right. And hopefully in your homework, it's good. You do well on it. Make sure that you read the instructions. Actually, I'm going to write that out right here. Read instructions, because lots of kids get the answers wrong because they're not reading the instructions. You have to see if it says to use a positive exponent or a negative exponent. If it tells you a negative exponent, you can leave it like this. If it tells you to do a positive exponent, you want to do it like this. So make sure that you read your instructions to see which way they want you to do it. Okay, that's it. Good.